We were in the middle of our tournament where my friend John said he found a body in the bushes over there. I ran over there because I'm a healing monk to try and help, but obviously my magic wasn't strong enough because the dude's body was missing a head. So my friend decided to try and use a necromancer spell, which didn't work, which I knew it wouldn't. And apparently we contaminated the crime scene because that spell uses a lot of glitter.
Hey everyone, it's Ignignot. So I just want to go ahead and give you a quick update on the Vewlix Diamond Black cabinet. So some things I've done so far. First off, I've installed some lighting. So, ta-da! I have another light that I'm going to put on the bottom here, but I ran out of batteries. But at least comes with a nice little handy remote. They're just on the underside of the lip, you can't see. In the back here, I've installed a little breakout power supply. It's kind of hard to tell in the video here, but it's kind of triangular in shape. I already had this laying around, and what's nice about it is that it has USB on the top there, so if I ever want to plug in something that was USB and I needed power, I can. It has an outlet there I can plug into and an outlet on the other side if I want to plug into. I only plan on having one thing plugged in at a time, whether it's a Namco or a Taito or a computer, so I'm not gonna like overdo the power or anything, but that way it gives me a more convenient way to pull the plug, so to speak. And I have all those cords kind of off to the side. I have my VGA cable here, which I will be using on the other hardware, but since the other hardware is not in here right now, there's no point in using it, so I just have it tucked off to the side. This is just a temporary, I'm gonna have this place somewhere. This is the Vewlix manual that I have, but I just wanted it in something so it didn't get all dirty. And then that's the spare power cable it came with, so I can use that for plugging in other arcade machines to the power socket here. So that's nice and ready. Whoever had put this shelf together had this knot in this groove here, so it's crooked, so fix that. I've just done some cleaning and cable management in here, so everything's nice and clean. I got a brand new 3.5 millimeter audio cable because the one that came with this was super short, so now that runs all along here and then into the PC. This is a Phantom Canyon. So this is very powerful, has a 2080 inside of it, despite its small diminutive size. And that thing it's sitting on is its own AC power supply. And it's not going to heat up because it's sitting on rubber feet. That blue USB that you see there in the front leads up and into the control area, and that'll go into the Brook adapter that's in my custom IO from Hadouken shop. So this will go in here. I just haven't hooked it up yet. I put some feet, because I have a whole bag of these for when I was collecting PCBs. I put some feet on here. As you can see, this comes generally on a mounting plate. However, with one little wing nut right here, it's completely removable. This is a JVS board. It's not a fast IO, but it actually kind of works out in my favor because the two arcade units that I'm getting, a Taito and a Namco, which I'll show off later, they'll take JVS for controls. So that's the type of board. It's a JVS L PCB. I'm actually really happy that it came with this because these go for a couple bills, so that was nice. And anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna take this off this metal piece here and store this, and then have both of these sitting side by side on feet. And then when I want to go ahead and change one out for the other, it's super simple to swap places. I really don't need it to be screwed into the cabinet. It's not like this thing's gonna get moved or jostled around. So I think that'll take care of that. I have got a step down converter, and I made a little bit of a rig for it here. It's basically a bunch of zip ties, but I didn't want the step down converter to be sitting directly on the rug. I had this black powder coated mounting plate for something else, but it was like literally the perfect size. It sits within it. So I have that zip tied down So that's why it's not sitting directly on the carpet. And then the plug where it plugs into, it goes from the 3-prong plug to a 3 to 2 prong converter. And the socket for the 2-prong into this converter is really kind of loosey-goosey, and so that's what the whole zip tie setup is for. It basically zip ties all around the left, the right, the top, and the bottom, and then they all kind of convene to push in the socket so that it's always being pressed in super hard into the outlet. The ground tab is also pressed and bent so that it's touching the ground tab on the step-down converter. So I do have a ground, just in case anyone's concerned about that. So I've punched out the plug that was filling these 2 holes here. I'm putting in the new buttons, but I wanted to show you the old buttons versus the new. So let me move this so I can put this down a bit. So these are the new buttons here, and then these are the old Sanwa. So these are the crown buttons with the blue cherry MX switches inside. So as you can see, versus this has an actual activation click like a keyboard. Whereas this is kind of mushy. I personally like that tactile feedback. I'm used to it with typing, so I like having an actual click to know that I actually, yes, indeed, press the button, whereas this is kind of up in the air. Granted, I can't blame the machine and for my lack of skill, which I definitely have a lack thereof of, but you know, still. Otherwise, I did guess pretty well. The look is virtually identical. I'm actually really pleased with how similar these are. Without these installed, I don't think many people would immediately tell that these have been swapped out. I will say the hole for the small 1-player button here, the 24mm I believe it is, was not a perfect fit, and I basically had to thread in the button. It was very, very tight and it barely went through. Just take your time on that one. These though just fall in place. I will say, please be careful with the Sanwa tabs. Basically looks like this. Pushing in can be a bit of a chore, but if you take your time, you won't break them. And while I don't have any plans on putting them in, I don't want to destroy the originals just because they're the originals. So as you can see, before you put them in, make sure you go ahead and search for the negative and positive marking here. And that'll tell you which prong is negative and positive. The negative being your black wire, the positive being your white. I've been putting mine in the exact same way. That helps out, so I know that when I put it in, you know, the ground cable is going to always be on the right and the positive is always going to be on the right, left. So put in your button, make sure you have the right polarity. Take your ring with the notches towards the control panel. Put that on like so. Make sure it's on fairly tight. You don't want the button loosey-goosey. There's no snaps holding it in place. And then for me, ground on the right, power on the left. Okay, so I can take off this sticker here now. There we go. Much better feeling. So unfortunately, I can't yet do the Seimitsu joystick because I don't have the converter all-in-one board yet. That's coming in from Spain and it's taking its sweet time. On your Vewlix, you'll have a mounting point one on either side, right here and right here. And the converter board will give you those mounts plus a slew of others. And basically what it'll allow you to do is take something like a Seimitsu stick, put the screws on the left and the right, and then on the top and the bottom. So this will mount in the Sanwa capable control panel on your Vewlix. Since I can't do that right now, I'm just doing the crown buttons instead, and I'll do that later. This control board obviously is not being used. This is for the card reader for whatever arcade that this came from, and it's cool to have on there, don't get me wrong. Someone said that it would be haphazardly cut out the back, but it's not. This is clearly a version of this control board that is specifically ordered, because there's plastic and metal moldings in here. It's not just some sort of hack job. So I don't know if there's different versions of the panel or what, but yeah, just wanted to show you guys that. Otherwise, this has been a really fun build so far. Like I said, I'm just taking my time. I've already verified that the power turns on. I have a YouTube short showing it turning on. The screen color looks great. It's very clear. I did learn this is a 1080p monitor. For some reason, I saw online that they said that only the HDMI out version was 1080p, but based on what I've been able to see and what I've been told by other users who have this is the nicer color, deeper black 1080p monitor. And conveniently, it has the DVI out, which I have a DVI to HDMI cable coming down. That's what's plugged into the PC. And then the VGA will be used for the Taito and the Namco. Last but not least, I went ahead and got a 5-pack of locks, and I have installed them. They're black, so they go with the color scheme pretty well. As you can see here, all the keys are exactly the same, so I technically don't need one per panel. However, I am kind of using them as a way to pull out like the drawer here. Kind of makes that a little easier. But otherwise, you just unlock, and you can get to things like your coin Mac or your power button. Volume is here, your test and service buttons are here. The very most right button on the top on that green panel is your source, so I can switch between the VGA and the DVI, and then I can actually turn on and off the monitor. However, it turns on its own when the Vewlix is turned on. And then of course you have your on-off button right there. I do really recommend putting these lights inside your cabinet. I got these at Walmart. They're super cheap. That's what the packaging basically looks like. It's inside the electronic section. It's a 3-pack of disc lights. Comes with a remote. There's different colors, but basically you set the color either on the remote or what you click it on to, and then when you turn it off and turn it on, it'll come back to that color. I just have mine set at white. But I think it was $9 for a pack of 3. Definitely recommend it. So right now we have the Namco has just arrived to the warehouse. So the Namco will be shipped. It'll probably be shipped surface mail. And then my Taito is going to be shipped on the 15th. Probably come here quicker. And I don't want to get into details on that, but it's going to be a pretty sweet piece of kit. So what I'm hoping for, and I don't know if it's going to work in reality, but what I'm hoping for is that the Taito and the Namco machine can be stacked on the top there, horizontally, one on top of the other. And then I could just change out the power and change out the JVS connection, depending on which one I want to use. But I've never actually seen one of these in person, so maybe it'll be too tall. If that's the case, then I just swap out the hardware. It's not the end of the world. But I would like to keep the bottom fairly clean with just the PC down there, just because you have your power supply down there and I don't want anything to touch it. And also the bottom is metal and not wood, which means it's conductive, and I don't want to mess around with that. But yeah, so that gives you a kind of a quick look as to what you should think about getting if you do order a Vewlix cabinet. I really do recommend the step-down converter. It will turn on an American, outlet. It's just over time it might wear out the components. And I have heard that this power supply is not very friendly to volts like you'll find in America. So I definitely wouldn't recommend using that without a step-down converter for too long. That one is on Amazon. It's a 500 watt, which should be more than capable of running both the monitor and the whatever you use, that thing only takes like 140 watts, and your arcade PCBs will, I mean, like the Taito or the Namco units will probably only take around 240 at max, so it's more than enough. Anyway, hope that helped. Big Nick not out.